For today's thrift store challenge, we are talking all things Crate and Barrel and CB2. So we're gonna go to Crate and Barrel, go on CB2's website, get loads of inspiration, and then we are headed off to the thrift store to see what we can come up with for a whole lot less. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Starting with some outdoor decor ideas, of course, wreaths, very typical for outdoor decorations, but you don't have to go the high-end route. Usually you can find something that might just need a tweak or two. Found this mini olive wreath. You guys have also seen me make a larger scale olive wreath that was also thrifted, but this one was just nice, just adds a little pop of greenery on the door, and I think it looks great for the summer season. Moving along now into furniture options, which is of course where things can get very expensive, but you can also find pieces that just might need some TLC at the thrift store. So for example, some of you might remember when I found this outdoor cooler and it was just $5. When I used Google Lens, this exact cooler, obviously not broken and in perfect condition, was almost $200 through Amazon. And those are the questions you really need to ask yourself at the thrift store. Is it worth the gamble? Because not every project works out, but for $5, I thought it was worth a try to see if I could spruce this piece up a bit. Everything always starts with a good clean, vacuum out any kind of debris or dust, and then you want to make sure that you're just cleaning the piece very well so that way you can really get a grasp on everything that you're going to need to do. I thought I was going to need to paint the top, and turns out it was just very, very dusty. So after I cleaned that really well, cleaned the inside very well, and it was obvious that whoever owned this piece before I did painted it because some of the spray paint had gotten onto the actual cooler. So to start, I'm just going to unscrew the top piece from the actual cooler itself, so that way I can spray paint it independently, just so I get a nice clean finish. I'm going to use my favorite epoxy spray paint. You guys might remember when I used this on my bathroom sink, and I thought it would be the perfect thing to use for a project like this one because of course a cooler has water and you need whatever paint you use to be water resistant. I gave 3 light coats, waiting about 15 minutes in between each coat, and then I peeled the tape back the next day. For the top cooler piece, it had actually broken off of the lid, so I just needed to reattach those pieces together, and I'm doing so using this maximum strength Gorilla Glue. It bonds to a lot of different surfaces, which is why I like it. And then if some of the glue seeped out, I just took a little wash rag and just removed the excess. And then I just simply screwed those hinges back into place, and this was the end result. I think for $5, because I had all the other supplies already, this was a major savings for this summer season. Now, over time, that epoxy might wear down. I've only used the cooler once, but I drained it and everything looks great as of now. But who's to say by the end of summer that that might not necessarily be the case? So I'll keep you guys posted, but so far so good on this one. For the next kind of outdoor idea, I understand that this isn't going to be for everybody. Some people like to kind of ornament their backyards with spheres or statues of some kind, and I really like these kind of modern globe ones. So we've done so many different projects on this channel with bowling balls, turned them into sphere vases, jumbo sized ornaments, a side table. Truly, the list goes on and on. But for today, we are going to take one of these bowling balls and turn them into one of these kind of stone spheres that you can place in your garden. So to start, I went in with 1 coat of that stone spray paint. So now that I've kind of gotten like a once over with the stone spray paint, now I'm going to get out my cement and just fill these holes. Leave this one open because that's how it's going to be staked into the ground. Fill these holes and then just kind of like lightly just kind of blot the cement around it, because I can always sand that off later, but I think it's just going to give an overall more like textured appearance. Once the cement had dried, I then just gave it a scuff sand throughout and then went in with 1 final coat of that stone spray paint. So the bowling ball at the thrift store was just $1, and the stake, I'm just going to use the bottom of a solar light from the Dollar Tree. So under $3, because I had all of the other supplies already, is not a bad price point. And I do like the way that this looks, but I think he needs a buddy, and preferably something that's bigger. So if you guys have any suggestions on something that's heavy duty and sphere shaped that I could use for this project, let me know. Of course, we can't talk about outdoor decor without addressing all of the textiles involved with that. So your cushions, your pillows, all of that. I was in Scottsdale over Memorial Day weekend and I went to the thrift store, of course, because I needed to see what was there. And I found these cabana pillows from Pottery Barn that were just $3.74 a piece. Unfortunately, I did not have room in my suitcase or necessarily a need for them, but just a friendly reminder to always check your thrift stores for textiles, which brings me into your indoor textiles too. Most recently, I found these really beautiful green velvet pillows that appear to be in perfect condition. I always like to use an app called Google Lens because even if it's not the exact same piece, it kind of gives you a little bit of insight into what the piece might be worth. Another resource then becomes how to style the piece, which you can get from either going to Crate & Barrel or CB2 if you have one in your area, or just going on the website and kind of shopping the room, seeing what they're using, but more importantly, the combinations that they're using to kind of make everything fit together. So I do have like a green kind of velvet chair. I own a green lamp. So I thought these green pillows would just tie in perfectly with the overall look in my space. But textiles are so much more than just your pillows and blankets. It's everything related to your dining situation, your bedding, even things that are upholstered. It is a big area in design. So when you find a textile that is of good quality, I always recommend buying it, even if you might not have a use for that specific item. For example, I found this huge curtain panel, but it was just one panel. It was from CB2 and it was just $3.74. Now, of course, I won't be using this as a curtain, but there are so many things I can do with this fabric, and I have so much of this fabric, I can make it into several different things. And one of the ways we're going to use some of that fabric is in my pantry. So I wanted to do just like a very easy mini makeover, and I started off by just taking some measurements, took everything out, painted the inside of the pantry. So at Lowe's, I had, this is the only plywood that was kind of straight. So I had them at Lowe's cut down plywood that would extend past the wire shelves, but then also be the exact dimensions I would need to place them on top of the wire shelves. And then I also got this, I believe it was a 1x2x6, I believe. And I'm just going to now take my pencil and just make a mark there, bring it over to my miter saw, so that way this could be kind of like the front piece that covers that front of the wire shelf. I attached those pieces first with wood glue and then went in with my nail gun, and then it was just time for paint. I used this cabinet paint by Magnolia. It was just in an off-white kind of creamy color. I repeated that until all of the shelves were covered except for the bottom, because I wanted to do this cutesy little trend, which is to make a little cafe curtain at the bottom. So taking the measurements that I used in the beginning, and I'm just going to apply that to my fabric, and I'm going to just give myself a little bit of excess for the hem. Now taking my fabric scissors, these ones work really well. They're from Singer, and I just made some very straight cuts to kind of divvy out what I was going to use for this entire curtain panel. So for this one, kind of like a no-sew option is to just take some iron-on fabric tape, make yourself a little hem. I then grabbed my tension rod from Walmart and then slid my little cafe curtain through, and I think this is just so stinking cute. It's so like quaint. So behind this curtain here, I have just some snacks, Murph's dog food, a kitchen appliance, just to kind of conceal it, but it looks a lot more aesthetic this way. And I know people are gonna ask, it looks nice, but where'd the food go? So here's what I ended up doing with my leftovers of my 1x2x6s. I just made these kind of permanent dividers in my Lazy Susan, and it honestly kind of makes more sense. I don't know why I didn't even think of this sooner. And this is just one of those examples of just small tweaks along the way that just make such a big difference. I feel like since removing the door for the pantry, doing the shelves, it gave me more surface area to work with, and it looks so much nicer. But I still had so much of the fabric left over. So you guys know this table has been beat up by me and my kids. They stay home with me. We're always doing crafts and things on there. So I'm not really in a phase of life where I want to buy and invest in anything new, but I also don't want to see it all the time. So I thought this would be the perfect thing to make a tablecloth. And even after the tablecloth, I still had so much left over, so I decided to make a set of 4 matching napkins. So now's a good time for me to introduce you to someone that I absolutely love, and her name is Pat, and she's basically like a sewing wizard. So I had her do the tablecloth and the napkins because every time she does something, it looks like it literally came out of a factory. And not only that, she enjoys doing it, and she charges me basically nothing to do it. So I thought this was a good opportunity to save some of my time and give it to somebody who really knows what they're doing and can do it perfectly. So as you can see, we took one CB2 curtain panel and we turned it into a mini cafe curtain, a tablecloth, and a matching set of napkins for such an affordable price. So this first example is kind of like the kitchen version. Now let's do a kind of more bathroom version. So waffle towels, waffle shower curtains from Crate & Barrel can be quite costly. So I found this one at the thrift store. It's originally from Threshold, and I actually think it's really affordable even from Target. So if you want to like go the Target route, totally fine. I don't have a shower that is of this width. I have a stall shower. So what I did was I cut the curtain in half, and then from the second half, I removed the rings, and then I cut that half in half. So I'm going to add one of the halves to the bottom. So I have a super long, super tall shower curtain, and then I'm going to have 3 hand towels. Again, cut everything down, explained to Pat what I wanted. It's like it came out of a factory. It's like I bought them at a store. They look absolutely perfect. Moving right along now into baskets. Now, Crate & Barrel has so many beautiful options, and I feel like they're timeless choices. If you buy this wire basket, you'll buy it once and you'll keep it for a very long time, I'm sure. But the thrift store also does have really beautiful options as well. Now, I have noticed from the Goodwill retail side that the baskets are starting to get really overpriced, in my personal opinion. Where though I still have a lot of success with baskets is at the Goodwill bins, because of course everything is just priced by the pound. So it doesn't matter where it's from or how big it is only priced by the pound. Little issue with those though typically is there's almost always going to be some sort of damage to the basket. So one nice thing is if it is a handled basket like this one was, one of the handles was in perfect condition, the other one was not. But what I did was I just looked to see how the handle that was still intact was completed, and then I just tried to replicate that as best as possible using some hot glue. I'm just sticking this in the pantry for all of my kiddos' snacks. Seagrass baskets like this one can cost over $50 at a place like Crate & Barrel, but after weighing this basket, I only paid $2 for it, and it was such an easy fix. Moving along now into pottery, lots of beautiful, timeless pieces at Crate & Barrel. Even when it comes to pantry organization and storage, I do think that if you're getting married and you need somewhere to register that isn't too expensive, Crate & Barrel, I think, has very comparable prices to Target these days. However, nothing will be more affordable than shopping the Goodwill bins for a donated canister set. So I found this set here, which was a set of 4, which was actually really nice. And they just needed a good clean. The bases were actually in perfect condition, no chips, no cracks, nothing. Took a magic eraser to the outside, Dawn power washed the insides, and they were good to go. As for the lids, this wood tone just pulls a little bit too orange for my liking, so I just took some sandpaper and I sanded the lids down completely until it just was in its nice raw wood form. Once those were sanded and then sealed, I then just grabbed some hardware from Amazon. I like these little mini gold knobs just because I felt like the scale was more appropriate than what was on there previously, but altogether, 4 canisters for under $10, you just can't beat it. For the next piece, I'm going to need some input from you guys because maybe you know what this was supposed to be used for. But anyway, so from Crate & Barrel, I love their healthy dose of black decor in their space, especially if you have white walls. I love that kind of high contrast. Also like that they play with shapes and that it's not just like a plain black bowl. So at the Goodwill bins, I found this piece here. And I tried to Google Lens it, nothing really came out. I don't think it's something that's necessarily handmade like in a pottery class because there's a tag at the bottom. But the tag is pretty much all the way scratched off. So I have no idea what this is, but I just love it. And I think it's gonna be great for some shelf styling. I'm not sure if those like gray marks are like watermarks or maybe it was used as an ashtray. I have no idea. So any information on this piece would be much appreciated. In addition to the pottery, I'm gonna kind of slide glassware into this, and that is one thing that I would just probably never really buy from Crate & Barrel because there's so much glassware at the thrift store. I found both of these at my local thrift shop about a month ago, and they're just the perfect kind of classic pieces that you would find at Crate & Barrel, but for a fraction of the overall cost. And with the money that you saved on your glassware, now you can go buy some really beautiful fresh florals. I just kept it easy with baby's breath this time, but then also you could do blooms from your garden. I would say in this video, the easiest way of the bunch to save some money. Last but not least are your serve boards. Lots of really great options. I think for me though, I would never do a monogrammed option only because I feel like if I ever go to donate it, it's really limiting the amount of people who would pick it up again. But that's just me. When it comes to your normal serve boards though, there are tons and tons and tons and tons of options that are beautiful, of course, but just a little bit pricey. You can find really great cutting boards at the thrift store and serve boards. I found this one here and I've actually thrifted several of these now. So this time I really wanted to give it a breadboard look. So I'm going to first distress it with a flathead screwdriver, basically anything that I can get those heavy indentations. And then I took some watered down antiquing wax. I also took some watered down black paint, watered down black brown paint, until I got this really antique, vintage, primitive look that I was really trying to achieve. A truly primitive breadboard on places like Etsy or even at Pottery Barn can be a small fortune. So the fact that this was just $5 and I was just able to do it with things that I had lying around my house, I think is a major savings. And that really wraps it up for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments which project or find was your favorite, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye for now.